Dr. Ai Fen is the director of the ER of Wuhan Central Hospital in China. She was the first to suspect the severity of the initial COVID-19 cases. She passed this information on to several MDs in her hospital. This information then got passed on to Dr. Wenliang. Dr. Li then blew the whistle that Dr. Ai provided, so to speak, but the police told Dr. Li to not cause a stir and return to work. He unfortunately died in February 2020 of COVID-19 himself, at the age of 33. So while Dr. Li can be regarded as the original whistleblower, it is Dr. Ai Fen who provided that whistle. Dr. Ai Fen has played a key role in the ringing the alarm in the 2020 COVID-19 outbreak. But all blog posts about Dr. Ai Fen have mysteriously disappeared. The following is the story from Dr. Ai Fen. The night of January 23rd, 2020, right before the city was locked down, a friend from the relevant department called me to ask about the real situation in our ER. I asked him if he asked the question for himself or for the authorities he worked for. He said it was merely for himself. I then told him the truth that on the single day of January 21st, there were 1,523 patients who came to the ER, which is 3 times more than my busiest day in the past. Among them, 655 of them had fever. No one will ever forget what happened in the ER in those days, and it would have completely changed all your values. If the hospital is at the battlefield, the ER is definitely at the utmost front. However, in those days, there was no more availability in the inpatient department at all, and the ICU refused to take any either. I was told that none of the patients in the ICU had been infected yet. They wouldn't allow anyone to change it. Patients rushed into the ER one after another with no way to move backwards, so all the patients were crowded in the ER. Patients had to wait for hours before seeing a doctor. We couldn't go home before we finished seeing them all. Patients are everywhere, with or without fever, or in the hallways, the infusion room, and the rescue room. I remember someone came to me, said his dad was seriously ill and needed a hospital bed. Because the underground garage was closed at the time, he parked his car nearby, with his dad inside. When my colleague and I ran to the car with equipment, his dad was found dead. I'm extremely sad, except sad. This patient just died before getting out of the car. There was another old man whose wife just passed away from coronavirus in Jinyingtan Hospital. With his son and daughter infected, he was brought in by the son-in-law, very ill. I tried to get the respiratory department to admit him to the hospital. Her son-in-law was very polite and walked over to thank me for all the help. Just within that second, the old man lost his life. This thank you only took a few seconds for him to say. It took me forever to take it, as it separated them forever. It became the last time for many patients to see their family when they're sent to the hospital. They may never meet again. I remember on the Chinese New Year's Eve, I came to work and posted a group picture of our department into WeChat, just to celebrate that we were still alive. Before the epidemic, if I was being a bit careless and didn't arrange for the patients to get injections timely, they would complain, even argue with me. But nowadays, no one complains nor argues with you anymore. The disease came all of a sudden. Both the doctors and patients are completely spaced out. Since the outbreak, for those who lost their loved ones because of the coronavirus, they hardly cry as we used to see, because it happens a lot every day. Unlike before that, the patient's family would beg you to try everything to save lives. Instead, they just tell us to take it easy and let it, as they know we have nothing to do and they are afraid to get infected themselves. Lately, it has taken up to 5 hours to line up to see the doctor in a fever clinic every day. A very fashionable lady just fell onto the ground while waiting. She was in a leather coat, high heels, shoes, and carrying a fancy bag. No one dared to lift her up. She laid there for a long time until I had to call some medical staff to help her. I was on duty January 30th, 2020. A gray-haired old man lost his son of age 32. He stared at the death certificate with no tears in his eyes at all. He was too sad to cry. From his outfit, you can tell he might be a migrant from some rural area. What can he do with all these? Without even knowing what caused the death, his son had become a piece of the death certificate. This is something I truly want to appeal for, as none of those who passed away in the ER were officially diagnosed as confirmed coronavirus cases. I hope after the epidemic, those patients' families will at least get an explanation, just as comfort. Poor people, our patients are so pathetic.